I think this is a good first part of this video. I will continue talking, but probably will place this in other videos, because I feel incomplete about what I was saying about our growth and regulation. Or I was speaking about how emotional regulation may be I would dare to say the critical piece in our growth. Acknowledgement of emotional realities, at least. Acknowledgement that our emotional upbringings are up to date, in a widespread fashion. They are incomplete, often incorrect, and they generate and produce the many of the vices and hurts and mistrusts in this world, in this human world. These greeds, hunger for more. These dissatisfactions, these senses of purposelessness, So about emotional regulation, I was saying, I meant to come back to physical regulation and speak that as I was saying, there are practices that people have, practices that people take on, and very often they are meant to practice these regulations. Physical regulation, exercises or physical regulations are well known. Oh, I will move the mouse a little more. They are. We have sports. We have gymnastics. We have anything that we can attribute to the body. We have yoga these days. We have Pilates. We have running, walking, cycling, hiking, mountain climbing, horse riding. The training of the physical body. Perhaps dancing. We have dancing. It is a subtler, deeper way of exploring that. It is a form of physical regulation that we practice. And in the case of sports, well, the actual physical strengthening, affirming of our physical body. And in the same motif of things, for the emotional regulation, we also have practices that we have developed. And well, there can be so many things. Some that are coming up in our widespread culture are things like psychology, like where people have psychological problems related to emotions, and they are attempting to express it, to allow the emotions to flow. Because the problem with emotions often is that we have these emotions and they wish to be expressed, and they are suppressed, they are repressed, they are inhibited, they are said, no, this is not the right time for them. And so we learn to suppress them and to inhibit them. But we are not told what to do with them, how to process them, what to do with that anger. Because it stays, the anger stays if it is not processed. And then we have people trying to go and hit the walls and screaming out in the woods, or just being mean to the people around them. because there is this anger inside of them that doesn't have anywhere to go, that it's undirected, and it can accumulate and and build up pressure inside of us, so much that we every now and again we'll need to let off steam, exactly as the phrasing goes. We need to let out some steam because the pressure is building in us, because these bodies, this emotional body that we have is capable of holding these things, but it's not designed, it's not meant to hold these emotions for so long. It gets damaged if that happens. And I would attribute also practices like art and music and social contacts, social relationships, actually friendships and gatherings, also to emotional regulation. We require some kind of we as humans we require some kind of approval to be for us humans to function correctly, to be seen. We're looking for approval, for validation, for someone to tell me, yes, I did that correctly. Yes, I am worthy. I am of value to something, to someone outside of me. Oh, okay, then the emotional body feeds off of that. It feels good. And so friendships are good. To be able to acquire that, to have that. And things like art and music and anything that where we can express things, that is in a way the counter to that, where we have expression, where we have emotions within us that have not been expressed, that are like trying to come out in some way or another, like just stagnant sadnesses or boiling angers, or this scabbed putrefied resentments and frustrations. These art and music, they are like ways of just letting them go, at least a little. Because I think that they cannot truly be let go if they are not given the original cause that they were brought for. Like that is why often we hold such pointed memories of things that happened to us, of things that hurt us. That one person, that one classmate hurt us. That one thing that my mother did or did not do hurt us, and it stays. It stays inside, and it hurts, and it's there, and it's this thorn, this wound that is energetically linked to that memory. And to truly be released, I think for the most part it needs that association to be seen and to be somehow released, which is what psychotherapy often does, or art therapy, or music therapy, or I don't know all the kinds of therapy that exist. But I know that people have them, they train in them, and they use them because they are seen to be useful. And yet, so many of these would not be so necessary if we could, as a culture, inculcate emotional regulation into our educations. And so when usually in our teenage years, well, I don't mean to provide rules or even patterns, but organically, I think that after the emotional maturity, or at least, yes, and subsequently to the part of emotional regulation, we begin to develop our mental bodies in a more focused fashion. And it is then that also naturally and interestingly, our schools and our universities begin to pose more acute ways of thinking. Mathematics and physics and chemistry, they all begin to be given in a more precise manner, because because I imagine it has been seen that then teenagers actually respond to these mental growth. But I do not mean to actually state ages or so. But mental regulation, I believe that is also a part that we humans naturally can and are designed to grow into and to learn to use and to regulate. And I believe that in our culture, the most prominent example I can find of a practice that encourages mental regulation is meditation. Because it is the observing of the thoughts, of the directions that our mind takes, the places it wants to go, and how it reacts to the reactions that are coming from our denser lower bodies, the emotional and the ethereal and the etheric and the physical bodies. How does our mind react to all of that? Can we train it to regulate all of them correctly? And by correctly, the image that comes to mind is that of a parent who has many children, and they are all asking for different things. They're asking for attention, or he hurt himself, or she wants a friend to play with, or all these children, they have different needs, and the parent, if he's unregulated, if he or she is untrained, they are prone to react to them, and there's a hurt, and then they go in and they hold them and they give them all their attention for a long way. Like they act reactively, afraid, because they're like, oh, I need to take care of this, and they are not able to regulate themselves yet. I'm not a parent myself, so I don't have personal experience about that. But that is the image that comes to mind. And I believe that a regulated mind is a very powerful thing to have. It is useful. I believe it is the tool that has been used by so very many of the so-called geniuses and discoverers and people who were curious about things decided to structure the things in the world in their minds, and to provide them enough structure, so that it could be expressed back into the physical world in a systemized manner. And these people have produced our sciences, these sciences have produced our technologies, and they are responsible for so many of the benefits that we modern humanity enjoy, at least a part of it. Because a working professional, an educated working professional who is able to financially take care of himself, lost my train of thought there. Because a professional, working professional who is educated, working professional who is financially able to take care of himself and in other ways, have a privileged position in this world, in this human world, where there is much lack of education, lack of resources. A lack of, sometimes, opportunities to develop the best version of each human. And from this so-called privileged position, I wish to speak and say these things that I believe are important to the subsequent growth of humanity. God takes care of us. Even when it seems that he, she, it doesn't. we have the role of taking care of the small piece of us that has been given to us to take care of. And to do so properly, we need to understand what we do, and whatever we do, why we do it. That why is the natural curiosity that we are given. It wishes to trace events and objects and phenomena in the world to their causes, because it recognizes that all phenomena in this universe have causes. It is seen clearly with children when they come and innately at some age they perhaps realize the law of cause and effect, and they begin to question, why this, why that, why that, why this, why that, why this, why money, why sky, why clouds, why house, why dog, why me, why clothes, why? It's the attempted linking of phenomena to causes, because we wish to know the causes. And it seems to me that as a species as a whole, as a culture, we have reached the point where the wise need to step into the esoteric realms. I think that science and material observation has done very much to explain the causes of the physical all through the physical as well, as much as it has been able to. And that it has reached the limit, a near limit of what the physical can provide, or what the, at least the material physical, so far measurable physical, can provide. And we need to seek further in order to continue linking this web of whys. Do we not know, would we not want to know why we are alive? Do we not want to know why we suffer, why we enjoy, why we have pain, why we have genders? Why we have malice? Why we have altruism? Why we have generosity? Why we have love? What is love? I believe that this search has been stunted by the shame applied to the esoteric subjects. Cultural shame. And I believe it is important that we stop. Not so much that we stop shaming, trying to produce shame in others. That's throwing the issue somewhere else. It is that we need to stop acquiescing to the shame that we feel within us, to the fears that we feel within us. And having all these internal, hidden, often unspoken fears of so many little things in the world. I'm afraid that I'm not going to have any money. I'm afraid that I'm not going to have any friends. I'm afraid that I'm not going to find a place to live. I'm afraid that my family will not like me. I'm afraid that I will not find a partner that will like me. I'm afraid that I will be alone, and I will continue to be alone. And I'm afraid that I will fail. I'm afraid that I will fail, and so I do not even try. So many stunted efforts because of this acquiescing to our fears. We acquiesce to our fears because they somehow hurt. In a sense, because when we feel them, when we see them, when we feel them, our reaction, the natural reaction of our bodies, of our unconscious bodies, is to the classical fight or flight. We react to them. Oh, something needs to be done. What? Fear. That. Oh, aggression. Oh. What is it? Empty? What do I do? And at that moment, when we give in to the unconscious reaction, we have lost the conscious ability to think, and to think in terms of why, and to attribute and to link that causality between this fear that we feel here, this fear that we feel here, and the cause that we perhaps could have observed, but when we react unconsciously, what our bodies are taking care of in that moment is our safety. Can we not die? And if we don't die. Okay, then that's all. That's all that matters, and the fear stays there. The fear can only be understood if it is faced, if it is seen, if we are willing to truly stay and see, and not run away, and not try to shove it away, but truly stare into it and acknowledge to ourselves, whether out loud or not, I'm afraid that thing. Why? Why am I afraid of that thing? And we humans have a wonderful capacity, I have experienced, to find the whys of things, particularly of our own emotional and mental bodies, or from physical bodies as well, of everything. We have this capacity to find the whys if we focus on them. If we ask truly, why is that? And feel into it. A capacity that is not widely spoken of in traditional Western culture, or modern culture. I will call it modern culture. Traditional modern culture. It's not spoken of because it's not widespread. Wait, what practice? What are they talking about? The holding, and the seeing of the fear and thinking, well, why? Oh no, the capacity to find the whys once something is identified. We have that capacity. I have found amazing experiences where something in the body tells me something and I am drawn to it for some reason or another, some force that shows up as subtle inklings. I'm drawn to parts in my body and I touch or I inquire into it sincerely. And if the fear or the situation is willing, the cause appears. The cause truly shows up within us. We know it. We feel it. We understand it. If only for an instant, but it's there. And it is then in our task, our responsibility to develop that capacity so that we can know, well, what is the cause of each of my pains? What is the cause of each of my fears? They have a cause. Even if I don't remember it now, even if I don't remember it ever, they have a cause. And the acknowledging of that, I think, is valuable. Because then we don't end up attributing the suffering that we have in life, because we humans, I believe, do suffer in this life. We don't end up attributing it to randomness, to pointlessness, to meaninglessness. And then come to believe that the world has no point. I really hope that the sound is still recording. Overall, we can be driven by trust. And if we allow that, then I believe that all the parts of us, all the parts that we are, our bodies are, and our cultures, our societies as a whole are, can and will begin to flow more freely. Whatever that entails. The release of long-held pains and fears, I believe, can be violent. I have experienced it being violent. And when that is their nature, that is perhaps necessary. It is in the nature of things. And yet this violence can be regulated as well. May it be regulated. May it be knowingly regulated when it comes up. Because there is no need to keep destroying our physical world. We can. We can. But it feels so much better when we know, when I know, that's all I can speak for, when I know why I do things. That is all.